today's a very, very interesting show because we're going to be discussing one of the, if you like, the godheads of atheism. And not only discussing him, what we're going to be aiming to do is to educate him as far as certain things are concerned. So, he doesn't make the same mistakes again that he has been over this time, if he's sincere. So I guess let's get into it. The person I'm talking about, obviously, is Sam Harris, right? So let's break it down. What is it that you want to particularly address in this video regarding Sam Harris? Or what do you want to teach him?
Sure, there's three basic things here, right? I mean, the first thing is one of the claims that he makes is religious belief is irrational, right? And one of the beliefs that he finds absolutely ridiculous is the belief in like miracles. So for example, the talking snake or the sea parting or any of these sort of things. But actually, if you think about it, and this is Sam, just a personal message to you, it requires just a bit of thinking to actually realize it's not irrational at all, because we have this magnificent universe with all of its laws, its patterns. We have physical laws, chemical laws, biological laws. We have all these intricate design in the universe. So this creator who's made this vast, complex universe, can he not make things which are snakes and they speak? Can he not part the sea? Can he not do these things? Of course, because he's made the whole universe. He has power over the whole universe. So for him to do these things, as it says in the Quran, kun fayakun, be and it is.
Yeah.
So these things are not irrational, right? And someone like him, I would just recommend that he actually does a bit of reading on Islam, and the fact that Islam doesn't stop you from thinking. In fact, Islam, many times in the Quran, Allah says to think, to reflect, to ponder for people of understanding.
Right? He generalizes, doesn't he? I mean, this is a common thing I've seen. What he does is he puts all religions in the same basket.
Sure.
And then he says, well, religion or religious dogma is this, and this, and it's not based on any rational reasons or argumentation or anything like that. It's irrational, basically, and his worldview is the rational worldview.
Which is kind of funny, because his worldview is everything we just spoke about now in terms of the universe and everything in it, including the fact that we're conscious beings, the fact that we can actually rationally discern the laws within the universe, right? All of these things are a product of chance, essentially. Now, he might try and say, well, it's evolution, it's this, it's that, but when you actually break it down, there is no controller, there is no creator, we are just an accidental byproduct, according to him. Now, that itself is a totally irrational belief. I mean, look, your glasses, right? Imagine if I said your glasses came together by chance. You'd probably think I'm mad, right? He's claiming something far more ridiculous than that. He's claiming the whole universe came by chance. And the really sad thing is that although he likes to call himself and others that follow him brights, right? It's not a very bright thing to do, to actually just follow someone blindly. And I think many of the people who actually follow him purely because of his authority.
Yeah.
Purely because he is,
That's what I was, like, my take on him is this, right? He's clearly got an agenda. Right? Even when you watch his videos, you see he has a particular style of speaking about religion. Yes, his hatred towards religion is evident. I mean, if you read his books, that's quite evident in those as well. And he has an agenda, and then what he tries to do, which is very interesting, is maybe when his own followers watch his videos after watching this, they'll realize this, that he tries to portray a narrative, right? He creates these stories as he goes along in his talks and his lectures and his sermons, dare I say, right, to his followers. And he creates his narrative and he makes up these things which I've never heard of about Islam before, right? And he just makes them up and he tells them with such conviction and certainty that people end up following him and believing it. So maybe people could look out for this tactic that he uses, if you like, in his talks and stuff. And it's just something interesting to notice. I mean, this is someone who's clearly got an agenda. He's trying to force his agenda down people's throats.
Definitely.
And like you said, it shouldn't be based on authority.
No, of course not. And one of the things which I'd ask him if I ever meet him is, what exactly are you preaching? Because other than, let's just say, attacking religion, which seems to be his life goal, say, okay, there's no religion in the world. Now, Sam, tell me, what's the purpose of life? Exactly. I mean, what do they have? What are they calling to? In Islam, it's very, very clear. We have this universe, right? The creator of this universe. We're part of this universe, and everything in this universe is worshipping the creator, and we human beings have the choice to worship the creator or not. And the purpose of life is to worship him, and if we worship him, we're rewarded in the hereafter. If we reject the creator, if we deny the creator like he does, then you're not rewarded, you get something else, right? So we have a very clear thing that we believe, but he doesn't have that. And the other thing is, look, when it comes to the fact that we live in a designed universe, or the fact that we know that this universe had a beginning and therefore must have a cause, the fact that there's objective morals,
Yes.
and that fact that we have the hard problem of consciousness, that we have third person subjective experiences, and that we have this yearning for a purpose of life, this yearning to a
Ask
higher
questions
being
and-
to sanctify, none of these things can be explained by atheism. In fact, these would be things that would be ways of falsifying atheism and showing that it can't be right because there's more to the world than just these material things.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much, that's really interesting. You've clarified loads of points. I mean, if there's any last messages you have for Sam Harris or his followers, what would it be?
I mean, one of the things I would actually say to the people who actually follow him is, one of his narratives is, look, religion causes harm, it's against science. These two sort of claims that he makes, I would disagree, right? I'm not talking about other religions. Frankly, I would say some religions have definitely barred the progress of science and have caused loads of suffering to humanity. But when it comes to Islam and the relationship between Islam and science is very clear from the early part of
Yes.
Islamic history. On top of that, the Quran continuously reminds us to reflect, to think, and to ponder. And many of the early inventions and early even the scientific method, it was developed underneath the Muslims. Now, when it actually comes down to the suffering that has been caused in the world because of atheism, this is something which his followers are blind to.
Yeah.
For example, if I was just to ask you, how many people has atheism killed over the last 100 years?
I don't know the exact figures, but I know it's many.
It's many.
Yes.
It's in the millions, right? Minimum, atheism has killed 80 million people in the last 100 years. With Islam, there's no comparison in terms of how much atheism has killed. It's far exceeded any religious terrorism in Islam, right?
So what you're saying is, if you want to play a numbers game, the figures speak for themselves.
Of course. And on top of that, I mean, it's really strange, and I wouldn't say sad, but it's really strange to see people like him talking about peace and talking about how religions are violent, yet in his own book, he talks about a nuclear strike on the Muslim world.
Yeah, that's shocking. That is
A
really
Hiroshima,
shocking.
basically.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just illustrates his agenda, but I guess we could wrap it up there.
I just want to end with one point just before we wrap it up.
Sure.
In terms of, because this show, we do want to sort of educate him in one aspect, which is this continuous obsession that he has with atheism and science, that there's some sort of link. And I just want you to break this down to him, because I think he's made an error of conflating how and why. So for example, if I was to explain how a car works in terms of the oil going in, combustion, the energy being the electricity being generated, everything, right? If I was to explain how the car works, would that explain the fact that the car has a designer?
No, it's apples and oranges. It's two different things.
It's how and why.
Yes.
Why does the car exist and how does it work? Two different things. And one of his classic mistakes, which I want his followers to realize, is he conflates the how and the why. Just because you can explain how something works doesn't explain why it exists in the first place. So that's the last sort of message I want to give.
Yep, I think that's very clear. Hopefully Mr. Sam Harris has learned something from this. Hopefully his followers have learned something and gained something from this. Again, Jazakallah khair, Brother Sabur. Thank you for coming on the show. Assalamu alaikum.